Hi, this is Alex Fernandez with Bud and Doug Walters Auto Sales in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Today I'll be doing a video going over the primary features inside of this 2017 Lincoln MKX. We'll begin by talking about the touchscreen display here, along with some of the buttons that we have alongside and down below. Once we covered those items, we'll work our way over here to the steering wheel with some of the buttons and controls on it, along with the stalks behind the wheel. Our screen in the gauge cluster, along with some switches that we have here on our left. And finally, we'll look at some of the buttons up above that control things like our dome lights and our sunroof. To begin, we're going to talk about the touchscreen display here, and this is where we'll interact with things like our audio, our climate control, our navigation, our hands-free phone connection, and our backup camera. Right now, the screen we're seeing is the home page, and this gives us a snapshot view of the navigation, the audio, if we had a phone connected, and then we have our climate-controlled seats and wheel. We have heated and cooled seats, as well as a heated steering wheel in this vehicle. Down at the bottom of the screen, we have the different applications we're able to access here. We have audio, climate, phone, nav, apps, and settings. We'll begin by talking about audio. The first thing that you'll see here is we're listening to FM radio. You'll see the station we're tuned into. Along the bottom here we have our presets. To save a preset, simply change the station to where you'd like to save it, and then press and hold, and you'll hear that beep, and you'll see now that that station has been saved there. To change the station, we have seek buttons down below here, as well as a tuning dial. To change the station, we can also press this direct tune button in the top right and type in the exact station number that way. If we'd like to change our source, we can press that source button in the top left, and we have AM, FM, satellite, CD, and Bluetooth available to us. Down on the right side here we have presets button, and there are 3 banks of FM presets, and there are additional banks for AM as well. If you'd like to change any sound settings for your audio, such as your bass, your treble, the fade and balance, simply push settings and then sound, and you'll see there we have treble, mid-range and bass, fade and balance, speed compensated volume, and then we have our surround sound settings here as well. This vehicle is equipped with the Revel stereo upgrade, so this does have some additional speakers compared to a base stereo system in the MKX. Moving on from audio to climate, we're able to control our climate settings here on the screen, as well as down below with physical buttons here. We have dual zone temperature control, so we have driver and passenger temperature controls here. And again, the same thing is sort of mirrored on the screen here. We have our fan speed here in the middle, as well as here on the screen. We have our power for our climate control, our front defroster, our rear defroster, air conditioning and recirculate modes. And in between those we have our max AC button. When pressed, that will turn on the fan speed all the way up to high, set the temperature all the way down to low, and turn on air conditioning and recirculate modes if they're not already on. It's just a shortcut way of getting the air conditioning going as quickly as possible. In the second row we have our heated and cooled seats for driver and for passenger, along with auto mode and our dual mode if we'd like different temperatures between the driver and the passenger. If you'd like them to be the same, you can simply turn off that dual mode, and you'll notice they pair back together, and then the driver's side can control both zones. While we're looking down here, we have auto hold. When you're driving around, the vehicle's in drive and your seatbelt's buckled, and you turn on auto hold, it won't enable it right now just because my seatbelt's not fastened. But once that's enabled, that will, when you come to a stop, such as at a red light, it will hold the brakes for you once you've come to a stop, and you're able to take your foot off the brake, and it will hold you there until you push the gas, and it'll let you accelerate. Underneath that, we have the button to open the glove box there. On the left side, we have the engine start-stop button. To start the vehicle, simply put your foot on the brake pedal and push the start button to shut the engine off. You do not have to put your foot on the brake. The MKX is equipped with a push-button shifter, which means we have all of our gears laid out as individual buttons here. You'll see we've got reverse, which will trigger our backup camera, neutral, drive, and sport. Simply press the button for the gear you'd like to use. Moving over to the steering wheel here, we have two control pads here on the right and the left side of the wheel. They have an up, down, left, right arrows and an OK button right in the middle, and they control the screens in the gauge cluster. And you'll see we have the screen on the left side and the screen in the middle. The middle screen is controlled by the control pad on the right side of the wheel, and the left screen by the control pad on the left side. We can use those control pads to interact with those screens. Pressing the left arrow will take us back to the menu for each screen. In this case, on the left side we have trip 1 and 2, fuel economy, driver assistance, and settings. To select any of those options, simply press the OK button when you've highlighted the one you'd like to choose. You see here trip 1, which tracks mileage, average miles per gallon, and time, and trip 2. To reset those values, simply hold down the OK button and you'll see the progress bar across the bottom to reset that. Going down to fuel economy, we have average fuel economy being tracked here. That's been reset, but as you drive, that will accrue based on your driving. In driver assist, we have on-off switches for our traction control, our blind spot alert, our rear cross traffic alert, and then we have a screen to see the all-wheel drive system. Turning on or off our rear parking aid, and then seeing tire pressures for all 4 tires. And the last one is settings, which allows us to change some vehicle settings and things like that. The middle screen here is controlled with the right keypad. Again, if we press to the left, we open the menu where we have the option to see our entertainment, which allows us to change the source of audio, as well as cycle up and down to go through our presets on the radio. Navigation will have a compass display unless we have a route active on the screen for the navigation, in which case you'll see the next turn-by-turn prompt provided there. Phone would show us a list of like our incoming, outgoing, and missed calls. You're able to redial those right from this section once you have a phone connected. And then the last section there is just a digital speedometer. You'll notice in the speedometer side of the gauge cluster you do have your fuel gauge as well as the distance to empty. That's how far you can drive with the amount of gas in the vehicle. Looking down on the right side of the wheel, we have volume controls for our audio, as well as skip buttons for either our presets or if we're listening to a CD or Bluetooth, skipping the next track. Those will also function as the buttons to answer and hang up a phone call that's incoming when that happens. So that button has 2 purposes depending on whether or not there is a phone call coming through. This button here, we have our voice control. We can press that, and when we have a phone connected, we're able to give the vehicle commands such as calling a particular contact name. And right up above that, we have a mute button. Looking to the left, we have the cruise control. We have our on-off switch here. Once we've turned the cruise on, you'll see the indicator there in the screen on the right side. Once you're up to speed, simply push set, one or the other. Either one will do it. Once your speed has been set, the plus sign will speed you up, the minus sign will slow you down. And if somebody gets out in front of you going a little slower, or you just want to slow down for a minute, you can hit cancel, which would function the same as if you tapped your brakes. If you've done so, then you could press resume to come back up to the speed you had initially set. Looking behind the steering wheel, we have paddles on each side. We have a plus sign on the right and a minus sign on the left. Those are the ability to manually change gears. So when we're in sport, if we pull one of those paddles, you'll see S2, S1. The plus sign would upshift to the next gear. The minus sign would downshift to the previous gear. That's something that most people won't necessarily need to use, but it is there in case you feel like using it. Looking on the right side here behind the steering wheel, we have our windshield wiper controls. Windshield wipers are controlled by moving the stalk up through the different speeds or down for a single swipe. The first position is intermittent, which is also rain sensing in this vehicle. So the vehicle, if it begins to rain, will speed up or slow down the wipers as needed. In case you need to make your own adjustments, you're able to speed and slow the wipers down in the intermittent position by adjusting this scroll wheel here. The next position would be low speed, and then we have high speed. All the way back down gives us the off position, where again, clicking down once gives us a single swipe there on the windshield. The rear wiper is this toggle switch here on the end of the stalk. We have three positions: the off position, the intermittent position, and the on position. And then we have instructions here for the windshield washers. Pull that stalk towards you for the front spray and push the stalk away from you for the rear spray. Looking to our left, we have our blinkers on the stalk here, and our brights. Simply push away to turn on and pull towards to flash. The high beams in this vehicle are also automatic. What that means is the vehicle can toggle the high beams off if another vehicle is approaching you, so that you don't blind them with your high beams, and they'll come back on once the vehicle is gone or past you. Looking to our left here down below, we have our headlights controls on this dial. Simply rotate that dial to the position you'd like it to be in. The final position there is automatic, so the headlights will come on at night as necessary, and during the day you'll have running lights so you're visible to other drivers. On either side of the headlights controls, you have the instrument dimming controls, so you're able to increase or decrease the brightness of the gauges and the backlighting inside. To the right of that, we have our power liftgate button. Press that to open it or close it. And then down below, we have our parking brake. Pull that to engage it, and then with your foot on the brake, push on the bottom of the switch to release it. Looking at the door here, we have our door handle, of course, and then our door locks, and three driver's seat memory presets. Simply adjust the mirrors, the seat, the steering wheel to your positions. Once you've done so, press and hold the button of which you'd like to use until you hear a beep, and that'll save that position then for you. Looking down at the door, we have our window switches here along with our window locks, our power folding mirror button here, and then our mirror controls along with the buttons to choose which mirrors we're adjusting, and then the control pad to make the adjustments. Up above us, we have HomeLink garage door programmable buttons. You're able to program your remote to use one of these buttons instead, so you don't have to keep your remote in the car with you. Up in the middle here, we have our dome lights controls on the left and the right for driver and passenger. We have a button that turns the dome lights on for the whole vehicle all at once. We have the switch that controls whether the doors will turn the dome lights on when they're opened and then shut them off when they're closed. In the middle here, we have controls for our sunroof. The back arrow here would open the glass panel, the front arrow would close it, and the middle one would tilt it up. And then to the right of that, we have the button to open and close the shade for the sunroof. If the shade were closed and you opened the glass, the shade would open with it at the same time as well. Right behind that, we do have a sunglasses case. And those are the primary features of this 2017 Lincoln MKX. In case you have any further questions, please visit us at waltersautos.com or feel free to call 269-375-7008. Thank you.